Hello and welcome to another episode of the Women Can Do Show. I am your host, Rochelle Sawyer Cobb, and I have with me the amazing Karneisha Stewart, the owner of Pucker Up Lemonade. Welcome to the show, Karneisha.
Thank you for having me, Rachel. It's Karneisha.
Karneisha.
But
Karneisha.
I'll take Kanisha.
I am excited, honey, for the world. Pucker Up is known. Okay, first of all,
We so grateful.
listen. I am a fan of Pucker Up Lemonade, the best lemonade in town. So if you have not tried it, try Pucker Up Lemonade. Okay, but before we get started and talking about Pucker Up, just tell us briefly who is Karneisha outside of Pucker Up, outside of the business. Who is Karneisha?
Well, in today's terms, I'm known as Pucker Up.
Uh-huh.
I don't even get a miss.
Right.
Or the lemonade lady or whatever.
mhm.
But I'm the granddaughter of a sharecropper.
Mm.
So, like, I wouldn't even be here had my grandmother
Wow.
not been part of the Western migration
Yeah.
of black folks that were like, hey, we up out of this Mississippi, we out of Louisiana, we coming to California. My grandmother literally believed that money grew on trees here.
Yeah.
So she felt like if she can make it and save from the cotton fields
Mm-hmm.
and from the plantation,
Yeah.
that she could really come, and it was a lot of hope and dreams available to her in California.
Yeah.
And that happened about 1955.
Yeah.
My mother came here when she was 5 years old with her brothers and sisters, and of course my grandmother. And my grandmother's sister, my aunt, said, I didn't think kids were ever going to stop getting out the car. Like, she came here with
a tribe.
With a tribe.
Yeah.
Really. So, yeah, that's who I am. I'm a sharecropper's granddaughter. I'm a daughter. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. And I'm a grandmother.
All right. That's a blessing in itself. I can tell you that. So share with us the journey to Pucker Up Lemonade. First, it started. It's a family recipe, right? A lemonade.
My dad's recipe.
Okay.
So my dad, between my parents, there were 6 kids.
Okay.
So my mama worked, my daddy worked.
Yeah.
And they both had hustles.
Yeah.
Because you got a family of 8.
Listen.
And so I don't even know what that would have looked like in today's.
Today, can you imagine?
I cannot.
Yeah.
But they did it. So my father, he worked at the oil refinery. That's what put us through school, private school,
Yeah.
And my mother was a creative back before creatives were a thing. Before there was social media, my mother was a creative, like literally with her hands and her mind. She was
Yeah.
always like, making something beautiful.
Yeah.
She always had that finesse, you
Yeah.
know. So my father, he would cut lawns on the side, cut trees. You had a big tree in the back, cut down, the stump cut out, all that hard labor stuff. 'Cause
Yeah.
my father's from Louisiana.
Yeah.
So he would come home with like big bags, like big boys market bags of lemons. That was before Kroger and
Oh
Food
yeah.
for Less, right?
Yeah.
It was boys
I remember
market.
boys, honey.
So you come with these big bags of lemons, and like the lemons, like even today, people like, oh, I got lemons for you. I'm like, they from the backyard,
Right.
Because when we
'Cause
started
those
out,
are listen.
when we started out, that's what we did. Like I got the hands and the pokes and the thorns, in my fingers to prove it.
Yeah.
And he would come home and put them in the sink with a whole bunch of Dawn and wash them, and then you got to wash them again and wash them again. And we make lemonade because when you got that many kids, you're not going out and buying Minute Maid and soda and stuff like
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's where it started with his recipe, and it was always good. And it was just like I said, it was accidental. That's where it started from, and then we actually did a carnival at Optimal Christian School in Compton, just as parents.
Shout out to Optimal.
Shout out to Optimal.
Woo woo.
Educating those black kids.
Educating our black kids.
Yes, for sure. So that's where we started, and the first weekend was great. They were having a 2-day carnival. They asked parents, hey, do you guys want to do a vendor booth? And I asked my husband, I'm like, he's like, I don't want to do that. Like, if I'm honest.
Thinking, yeah.
But we did it with my dad's recipe, and the first day, I think we had 3 flavors. We had classic, we had strawberry, and we had watermelon. And that day, they bought all that lemonade. And we was like, okay, so what do we do? Go go home and make some more.
Mm-hmm.
And we did it again, and that was back in 2011.
Wow.
That was in 2011. It seems so long ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And to now, so what were like, so your location is in Compton, right?
Yeah, we're
On
at 723 East Compton Boulevard. So
Compton
we're right
Boulevard.
at Compton and Santa Fe.
Shout out to the city of Compton.
Shout
Born
out.
and raised.
Born
Both
and raised.
of us, okay?
That's right.
We'd be remiss not to mention that.
Right, of course.
So opening a brick and mortar, like that, what were the challenges? Because that was, 2011?
That was in 2019. So from 2011 to 2019, we was out here like what they call the chitlin circuit. Like we was carnies.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
For real, we were just here
Yeah.
and there. We would, like, ironically, now we're located directly across from the Salvation Army.
Yep.
And that was one of the, like, first places, like, we did a basketball tournament there. We were just in the community, like, getting our feet wet and really kind of establishing those relationships that we still rely on in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
You know, establishing
That's important.
relationships, doing baby showers,
Yeah.
and more baby showers, and weddings, and birthday parties, and retirements. And then 2019, a friend of mine was like, I think I got a location for you. And that was kind of like, I would say, like, the furthest thing from my mind, because, you know, it's a lot that goes into
I
that.
know.
And I'm like, you know, I don't know. So she was like, legit, like, I got a place for you. I'm like, really? And I remember, like, yesterday was a Monday morning. I probably had a weekend full of parties. So Monday, I'm just trying to figure out life. Like, okay, what do I need to do here and get ready for the week? And, you know, prior to Pucker Up, I was in nursing for 15 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a peds nurse. And so I love my job. I love my patients. I love their families.
Yeah.
I love what I did. I really considered it a ministry.
It is.
Until I didn't. I just kind of like fell out of love with my profession. And I think the first part was realizing it. Like, what are you going through? You're going through a transition. You're not really, I never wanted to be a nurse that went to work for a paycheck.
Right.
Ever. That's not what I signed up to do. So I really loved it, and I knew the difference that I made. And I just wasn't feeling it. So it was during that time Pucker Up was born, and then fast forward to, I think, falling out of love with nursing. But I was very excited about the potential of Pucker Up.
Yeah.
So when we first started with Pucker Up, it didn't even have a name, you know? So I went down to the county recorder. I was excited, registered the name of the business, and I was like, the lemonade lady, and they was like, yeah, taken. And I was in line. I was literally in line at the time, and I'm like, oh, I got to come up. I was like, okay, Pucker Up. So I obviously had saw that somewhere, or maybe.
Wow.
And so there we go.
And I was going to ask you the story behind, how did you come up with the name?
On the spot.
Wow. On the spot. Look at that.
On the spot. So 2019, my friend called me. She says, hey, I have a location for you. And I'm like, okay. So she's like, well, I'm here now. Let me put you on the phone with the owner. And I'm like, okay. And he's an older gentleman.
Like, this is happening.
Older gentleman, Mr. DeVille, from Ville Platte, Louisiana. You know, the elders, they gonna give you where they from.
Listen.
Like not they neighborhood, but like where they from, where their roots
from,
are.
The town.
Where their roots are. He says, well, you know, I'm Creole, and you know, I think a lot of black folks think Creole, you Spanish, you this, you that. This was a very dark-skinned man, speak French and everything. And his mother came to Compton many years ago. His mother at the time was like, had just passed, she was 107 or 108.
Wow.
And so he says, look, I've been having some issues with my health. My doctor said I need to get out of this business. He was, he owned a Creole store. So he brought stuff from the South and sold smoked meats and like, you know, your Tony shares, slap your mamas and all the different things. And that's what he sold at the store. And he's like, look, I can't do it. And I said, okay. I said, well, does it have this? I knew a little bit about the health department at that time. I'm like, well, does it have like a 3-compartment sink and a produce sink? And does it have that? And he's like, yeah. And so I'm grilling this man on the phone like I'm interrogating him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Let me come down there. Literally, to speed it up, went down there and it was a handshake deal.
Wow.
And this was in
Look at that.
2019. Like that was in
Yeah, that's
2018
something.
actually. So that was at probably late 2018. We opened in 2019, and we've been there. And that's where we finally had a location for our community to come
Mm.
and to support us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So a handshake deal. He was like, "Hey, give me $15,000," and I was like, "Yeah, I don't have that." And he was like, "Well, what you got?"
Wow.
And then he stuck out his hand and he shook on it, and I just felt in that moment like that was like a lot of people talk about generational curses,
Mm-hmm.
and I just focus on like the generational blessings.
Listen. Come on.
Like all the
Yeah.
times we was on our way to Disneyland and my dad
That's
stopping to change
powerful.
somebody's
Yeah.
tire and stuff. I'm like, what are you doing, man?
That's
Like,
powerful.
and
Yeah.
so it was really in that moment I was able to experience that. I felt like that wasn't my doing, that was God's doing, and
Yeah.
that was people before me that have really
Of course.
looked out. And I think like as a people, we come from a people that looked out for each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Took care of each other,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what happened to us. That's how we got our location, and we've been there ever since. And it's just been a home and a hub for us. And then also to just like shine a bright light on Compton.
On Compton. And let me tell you, Pucker Up Lemonade is shining the
Thank
light
you.
on Compton. Okay. So you go beyond. So I've been in the store several times.
Thank you.
We have our I have an annual for the I Can Do organization, an annual my niece, she's the I Can Do girl, right? So we have like a
Oh.
girl collection, so it's all about building legacy.
Good.
And so she always wanted to go into entrepreneurship. So I'm like, okay, let me bring her on and add this I Can Do
I
girl
love that.
segment of it, right? So she has her own collection, everything. So what I do, I'm like, oh, let me have an event for them annually. So we have like a sip and paint, but we have your lemonade.
Oh, that's so awesome.
And so I remember the first year we had it, it was like the adults, the moms who brought the girls were like, oh my gosh, where'd you get this lemonade? So every year I go into the store over in Compton.
We got to do that again.
Yeah, I
love
go over there and
that.
get the lemonade. But so again, like I've said, like I use your lemonade for events, but it's beyond the brick and mortar. It's beyond the location. You do catering. You do
Yes.
community events. Like I'm looking at all these community events.
Yep.
Inglewood and Carson and LA and Compton. Pucker Up is there. That's why I'm like, I gotta get. First of all, she's from Compton. Like that's what stood out to me. And then I'm like, wait, that's Pucker Up Lemonade, the one on Compton Boulevard that we go to, because my sisters go there too, right?
Right.
That we go to and get stuff. And I'm like, oh, just watching, like I've watched the growth. And I'm like just standing back like, oh my gosh.
For me personally, that's the best part, for people to bear witness.
Yeah.
To like the hard work,
Mm-hmm.
just seeing the testimony.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
literally, I tell everybody, we started with an igloo and an ice chest. We started with an igloo and an ice chest, and that just goes to show that like sometimes all you have is what you have.
Come on.
So it's about resourcefulness.
Yes. Yeah.
And a lot of times,
So important.
especially people in business, young men, young women, older men, we kind of start the conversation, well, what I need. I need this, I need that, not realizing that we pretty much have everything that we need already. And then also what we need is we have access to that.
Yeah.
We have our community.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say that our community and surrounding communities between Compton, Carson, Inglewood, Long Beach, LA have just really, really, really like created space for us.
Oh yeah. I see it everywhere.
They created space for us. And then once we got the momentum going, because we were just, like I said, we were carnies. We were on the Chitlin circuit. We were going here, we were going there. And so every time we would go do a party, somebody's like, oh yeah, I got your card. I'm just waiting for the opportunity to book you. But it's really standing on, as a Black-owned businesses, I'm just so offended when people have just like a bad experience with a business and it's a business of color, and then they equate it with it being a black owned business. That just like really gets me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, hey, what was it really?
Yeah.
You know, because this happened, I'm sure, at your Macy's, at your this, such or that, you know, but it did happen to be black. But we've always stood on trying to represent.
Yeah.
And we don't necessarily treat our customers like family. We want to say we treat them better than family, because some people don't, you know, they like, oh, my family, this, that's. Well, we consider our customers as cousins. You know, those cousins that you grew up with in the summer.
That's it. Yeah.
Y'all play all day till the sun go down. You better not go in the house, drink out the water hose like
Right.
that. Like that.
And
so
we are those water hose drinking kids.
The best water. The best water, right?
Right.
So that's where that's kind of like what we want to evoke.
Yeah.
The experience, you know, something nostalgic, something that you can kind of reminisce on.
So what's unique about your lemonade? Like, I don't even know what it is, but it tastes different. Like, it's like,
I think there's a balance. So it's definitely sweet. There's a balance between the sweet and the sour. It has a tartness, but it's not like hit you in the back of your throat tartness. But growing up, my father always had the secret ingredient, and we still use that secret ingredient.
Yeah.
And we started with those 3 flavors, like I told you, at the carnival back in 2011. And then we were just able to build and build it. I never thought we would have over 100 flavors, but we do. Between lemonade, iced tea, our infused waters, and our zero sugar options, we have 100 flavors. And what I see with the customers is that everybody has their flavor.
Everybody has their, yep.
And I have my flavors that I like,
right?
You know, but everybody has their flavors. I have one customer, he comes in, he has his refill cup, and he comes in and he says, hey, pomegranate, no ice. I have never seen this man drink another flavor.
Yeah.
But everybody has their flavor, and it's something unique. I guess we have something for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, as we moved on, we definitely have to have something for the people that abstain from sugar or that's diabetic friendly. So we brought on those flavors, and it's just that we have something for everybody.
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned that, because I was going to ask you about that. What prompted you, the infused water and because I remember when that was added to you guys' menu, and I'm like, okay, that's dope. Like the infused water and the what is it, the zero sugar?
The zero sugar. So I'm just not a big water gulper. And so that definitely just in my daily life, like today I'm drinking pineapple water. I love pineapple water. It's any watery, heavily water-based fruit, like the larger fruits like the melons, the pineapples, your cucumbers, those are definitely very hydrating. And so for me, it helps me, you know, it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's a zero sugar added, so no extra added sugar.
Yeah.
And then you can drink that, you know, throw it in your Stanley, throw it in your pucker up cup.
Yeah.
Refill it, put it in the fridge, and you got something, you know, that has a little flavor to it.
Yeah.
But that you can drink healthily.
Yeah.
You know.
I have like an infused water that I make on my. It was like part of when I a couple of years ago, I went on this journey to lose the COVID weight, what we call it, right? And so my goddaughter is a wellness coach, and so she started me drinking this infused water. You know, having me make it at
what
night.
You put in it?
Cucumber, mint leaves, and strawberries.
Classic.
Do you know I have been? That was what. No, that was 2020. I've been every day since. And so all I do is refill it with water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I tell
you. And so that's when I saw, I'm like, wait, she's got the infused water. Like, that's.
Yeah, it's good.
It is.
For me, like.
And so many, I'm going to tell you this. Because people have asked me like, oh, what's in your water? But they're like, oh, I don't want to put it together. So when I saw that you actually sell it, I'm like, people actually want that. Like, they want to just come in and get it versus at night, like I do, chopping everything up, putting it all together.
We're a society of convenience.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
We're a society of convenience. I remember years ago, my mom was like, she was like, I wonder, could I sell water? Just water in a bottle. This is
Mm-hmm.
before there was a time when we did not have
Yep.
bottled water.
Bottled water.
And now it's $1 billion,
$1 billion business.
but that was just the creativity of my mom. She was
Right.
definitely a creative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you ever imagine Pucker Up like being like when you birthed it? Let's see. No, let's go to not when you did the uh, Carnival at Optimal. When you opened the business, when you opened the location in Compton, did you imagine that it would be, or did it just kind of? Did you imagine that it would be what it is today and still booming? I see. I know it's going further, right? But did you imagine it being what it is today, or did it just kind of grow legs of its own?
I think actually having a brick and mortar location for people to come to, because people would see us at Taste of Soul.
Yeah.
Then they would see us into the next Taste
Until
of
the next
Soul,
Taste of Soul,
or they'll
yeah.
see us at something, in between.
Right.
And so, being able to have a location definitely changed the trajectory. I knew that it could be because, like, I'm a dreamer. I'm a dreamer. So, back when I was in nursing and when I was on the tail end of my career, and I'd be at work and I'm just daydreaming about lemonade and what we can do. And see, at that time, beverage stations for parties and events had just kind of started becoming a thing. Because otherwise, what do? You go buy those big red buckets, a bunch of ice, some soda,
And
some
make it
12
up.
packs, some 12 packs, and some waters, or you go get the big jug and make up the punch, and everybody
From the dairy in Compton, honey, on Long Beach Boulevard. Don't play.
It's still there. It's still there. So you go and you make up your party punch, or it was an uncle or an auntie or a granny. Oh, granny, you gonna make your punch, And then so because we know we don't just eat with our eyes, but we drink with our eyes.
Yep.
So anything that you make beautiful and appetizing and inviting and refreshing, it's kind of like an oasis in a desert. So I'm like, okay, we can do that. And when we first started, we did not know what we were doing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like with entrepreneurship, if you have a skill set or an idea or just the creativity to take something basic, you really, if you don't do it, somebody else is.
Somebody else gonna do it.
If you don't do it, somebody else is. So now I'm in a space now where I like to think that we have inspired a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we're in the same space. However, we live in LA.
Yeah.
So because we're in LA and we're in close proximity to Orange County and the IE and Riverside and it's enough space for everybody.
Yeah, it is.
But it's all about the individualism of what you bring to the table, how you present. And at the very, very nutshell is building relationships with people. So we have clients from day one. You're talking about 14 years ago.
Yeah.
That still call us.
Yeah.
That still wouldn't think about having an event or their corporation is something. And so for us, we have very, very meager beginnings. So to think that we would have the capacity to go and, I'm not sure if you were during COVID, the YWCA of Greater Los Angeles presented the Phenomenal Women's Awards. And that was at YouTube Theater. 3,500 women. They said you got 3 hours to drink everybody.
Wow.
And we did it. We partnered with a local nonprofit. We had our team. And we partnered with a local nonprofit, Children Striving Together. They brought a whole bunch of kids. And we gave the kids a really quick, look, wash your hands and this is what we doing.
Wow.
And we did it. So it's opportunities started presenting themselves. And then as a business owner, it gives you okay, we can do that. So if we can do that, we know we can do that. And so sometimes it's just things that kind of build your confidence a little bit. And then it's kind of paid practice. So you practicing, but they don't know it.
They don't know it. Right. Yeah.
You're practicing, you're getting paid to practice. You're kind of streamlining your operations. What works, what doesn't work.
Exactly.
When I get a chance to do it again, we're going to do it this way.
Change it along the way.
This is what works. And it just...
Right.
A lot of times I think we're in startup culture now. So startup culture already has a team.
Yeah.
Startup culture has a team. It has funding. It has investors. it has professionals in every aspect of the marketing,
Right.
sales,
Yeah.
this, that, and the other. And then you got mom and pop bootstrappers like Pucker Up.
Yeah.
That's like, we just gonna do it.
Gonna do it, yeah. You know what stands out to your look, the aesthetics, like you said, make it appealing to the eyes.
Yes.
That is what kind of caught my attention. When you said that, I'm like, it was like this, just the whole look of it, and it's like, oh my gosh, that looks really good. And I think I can't remember if it was my sister or my cousin that told me they had tasted it, and so that's how I started going. And then when I went into the location, it is just so cute.
Thank you.
Like the whole aesthetic. I mean, it is so cute. But again, I'm going back to what you said about that's important too. Like,
it is.
you know, what could set you apart. That's why I asked what do you think sets you apart?
You
But
know,
not just the taste, but that's important.
So from the very beginning, even though I didn't know what I was doing, I had a concept that I really couldn't conceptualize, but I knew what I wanted. So we were working with a graphics team.
Okay. I was going to ask you.
We were working with a graphics team that we still work with.
Okay.
Because I'm tried and true. I'm loyal. Like if it works, and then
that's me.
Right. And then too, if you have a good working relationship that you can build upon, I know how this person operate. I know they know how I operate,
right.
whatever. And every single thing that we come up with is just like, I couldn't have done it without the team. And they like, it's something that they created the visual aesthetics for, that they're proud of. And it's just like, it's such a blessing.
Yeah.
It's such a blessing because it's like, you know what you want, but for somebody to kind of bring it forth, that's the other creative half. And I was always conscious, like, so now branding is just a buzzword. And it means not just how you look, but how you appeal, how you engage with your audience, you know, what you say, your tone, everything. And I was always like, I knew from day one, like, that our branding had to be on point. I knew it had to be on point because my mother used to have a word like, she's like, look, it can't be mammy made. Like it can't.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that saying back in the day. Yeah.
It can't, you know. And so for us, we had to look the part.
Yeah.
And play the part until we could actually be that.
Be that. Right.
And
I get it.
Just like a firm believer in that, you know. And I see a lot of businesses and I'm just like, I know where I started from, so no judgment here. But it's just like, you got something that tastes amazing, but your presentation is poor.
Ooh, that's, yeah.
It's like who you know, that's the thing. And then it's like the way it's packaged, the way it's put together, you create an inherent value for it. So you can pour this into a styrofoam cup, or you can put it on a cup that's branded and it looks nice, and don't throw a garnish on there. And then it's just like, I'll pay. And you know, we from California, so we like everything aesthetically pleasing.
Listen, the look is everything.
And then we feel ourselves to be valuable and important. So we want to eat and drink valuably and importantly, you know?
Yeah. And so now you have, your beverages are in other stores, right?
We have a couple of local stores. So during COVID, COVID was unique for a lot of reasons. You had to shut down orders, so we actually like shut down during COVID for about a month.
Okay.
And then I had a friend that had a store in Carson and then another store in Southgate, and she's like, I need your products, because a lot of stores were able to stay open because they were selling essential products.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Essential products.
Right.
We got bleach, gloves, masks, PPE were open.
Yeah.
And so she was just, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to go into the store. And meanwhile, I got like a middle schooler at home trying to figure out Zoom and like open up the blinds and turn on the lights, take out the, like, you know, it was a trying time for all of us. Yeah. And so that's how we started. And then during that time, there was a lot of stores that just was, you know, it was I would say a good time for Black business, because people it was a lot of self-reliance going on. Yep. And then people's jobs disappeared and we had to, like, you know, move differently. So we have our store. We have another store in Long Beach that we sell out of. But quite honestly, out of 8 locations that we had, including our own, they don't exist anymore. And so that's very challenging as a business. Like, what
Yeah.
happened? Some people got sick. Some people just couldn't. Like, things changed
Right.
rapidly,
Yeah.
and then changed again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then in the entire time, then you have inflation. I literally seen things that I used to purchase when I first started in business for $6.99. That's $15.99.
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Like, you can't make it up, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
But we move on every day. I think being an entrepreneur like you, one day you'll be pumping yourself up. You pumping yourself up,
Yeah.
and then the next day, you like, am I pumping myself up or am I blowing smoke? Like,
Right. Yeah.
it's a fine line.
Like-
It's a fine line. You got to be really confident in yourself and confident in your ability, but you have to also be realistic.
And you got to be willing to pivot. Like you said, COVID hit. That was like a drastic change for some people, and some people didn't survive that change because they weren't willing to. Like, you got to be willing to, like, first of all, you have to understand in any business, you're not going to be the same as you were last year. Like, you need to be evolving continuously. The world is evolving.
So COVID hit. So it's 2020. So 2020. Everything that was on our calendar from 2019, so annual events, did not happen in 2020. And that was a lot.
Yeah.
So, like, going into now, April, May, June, we're doing all of our proms and graduations.
Yeah.
That didn't happen.
It didn't. I remember.
My son graduated in 2019, and he actually had a promise up. But 2020, 2021, that definitely didn't happen.
Yeah.
Then 2022 things started coming back, but not everything. Maybe at like 50%.
Right. Yeah.
And then things didn't really kind of settle back into like 23 and 24. It was just unprecedented times. But we did what we had to do, and then it kind of brought out more different streams of income. So like everybody went from the beverage station that we would do that was self-serve. Nobody wanted to touch anything.
Yep.
So now that's prepackaged. So you have to like pivot, and then also like supply chain shortages.
Yeah.
Now everybody's going prepackaged. Everybody's going to curbside service.
Wow.
So things just kind of like really, and then the inflation overnight just was like,
Yes, it did.
so it was, I was telling my friend the other day, I said, for businesses now and entrepreneurs now that are weathering these times that we're in, you like really built from something.
Yeah.
You really built from something. You really, really, really have it in you. And success doesn't necessarily mean that you're not built. I mean, like, if failure doesn't mean that you're not built from that. Because there's so many different circumstances.
Yeah.
People got families outside of business. People got families, kids, like real issues. Last year, almost a year ago, May 24th, I got sick with strep throat.
Wow.
Do you know I ended up in the hospital for 32 days and had to learn how to walk again?
Oh my gosh.
From strep throat.
Wow.
And it was just kind of like when I played the tape back, business-wise, just life-wise, under a lot of stress. So now my resistance is way down there.
Yeah.
So I got strep throat. I didn't even know I had strep throat because it wasn't the same symptoms that I had prior. Like maybe a year prior, I had strep throat for the first time. It was very excruciatingly painful.
Yeah.
Went to the doctor, got meds, felt better. I was like, I never want that again.
Yeah.
Got it again. And at the time, they said it was going around Long Beach. So I don't know if that's how I contracted it. And I was in the bed for a day, 2, that turned into 3, 5th day in ICU. Wow. In septic shock. Very, very close to death.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of had to like bring me back to center as a human, as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like, you can't take care of the business more than you take care of yourself.
And take care of yourself.
So now I like try to lead with wellness and just stress relief, and just like, you cannot. A few years ago, some friends and I were privy to a situation with an event planner. On our way to an event, had an accident on the freeway where her car flipped several times. And once the car stopped flipping over, the only thing she could think about was her client. You know,
Wow.
and it just puts into perspective how we often really, really, really take our work and where we prioritize that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And we could be on our last limb and we're still trying to push through, and especially as Black women, like,
Oh yeah, that's what
that
we do.
push through culture, the push through culture is it can be deadly.
Yeah, it can.
It can be deadly, or
Yeah.
it can just alter your life to
Yeah.
a point to where you can't even do the things that you enjoy doing.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like, I don't know if that's put on us by society as much as we put it on ourselves.
I think we put it on ourselves. I think
Do
we
you think-
try to put it. We say society because I feel like you have a choice.
Yes.
Like to me, if you identify, no, this is not okay. Why are we doing it? You know, why am I putting that?
Well,
on? I've been
because
guilty of it.
I'm
you
the,
know,
I'm the oldest in the family, or I'm the youngest
Right,
in the family,
yeah,
or
yeah.
mama need me, or the kids
Exactly.
this or that, or my job, you know. And I'm like, if you leave here today, they're gonna replace you.
they're gonna replace you. Listen,
They're
they're
gonna
gonna go
have
to
a
somebody else.
They're gonna have an ad up before the end of the day. They're gonna be hiring, you know. So yeah, it's just priority and perspective.
I'm glad you shared that too, because that's what I was gonna ask you. Like, how do you prioritize yourself? I mean, that you first of all, you're sitting here talking to me is a blessing. You said you were in the hospital for 32 days. Look
I
at
had to
God.
learn how to walk again.
Listen, and to learn how to walk again. Something that started as strep throat, and you had to learn how to walk again.
My kidney shut down. I still have
Wow.
the little scar from my catheter that was in my chest.
Yeah.
So the strep throat
That's a blessing.
affected my kidneys. I had acute renal failure.
Yeah, yeah.
When I got to Long Beach Memorial, my blood pressure was 70. I was in septic shock. So all my vital organs were being affected. And one thing, once I eventually got transferred to Kaiser, and one of the physicians told me, he said, you're lucky to have your limbs, because typically the medication that we give for this to divert the blood flow from your extremities into your vital limbs, right? Because your blood pressure is so low, you're in shock.
Right.
He said that, you know, to divert that into your vital organs, he said that typically leaves you with gangrene, and you lose your limbs.
Wow.
And you know, you just never know sometimes how close you are
Yeah.
to being just, you know, disfigured or what have you. So right now it is about balance. It's just about balance. And it's just like taking my time, and I'm surrounded by entrepreneurs. So we're all on this grind, this hustle. And it's like, we just gotta, it's something that you learned.
Yeah.
And as Black women, I don't think we're always like, okay, we're pretty much taught to do it all.
Do it all. Superwoman.
And like, I'm like, capes off. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's not sustainable for me.
Yeah.
It's not sustainable for most of us. And I think we are very much sensitive to stress. And it's one of the most underrated aspects of mental health.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so when I get the opportunity to travel and go on vacation, wherever it is, as long as it's far from LA.
Yeah.
Because LA is like, we're used to it because this is
We're
where
so
we're
used
from.
to it. Right, exactly.
But when you leave
ooh, when I tell you, there's beauty on the other side, honey. Yeah.
I'm like, I like this.
Yeah.
I can be slow. Like,
Yeah.
I like this.
Yeah.
I embrace this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like this, you know?
I can chill.
but then we have to be able to create those chill days in town.
In town. Oh, that's a priority for me. Because I've been there where, you know, and I always tell people this. I used to wear multitasking as a badge of honor. Like, I thought I was the queen of multitasking, bragging about it.
You got so many windows open.
Until the burnout and the crash down came, and I'm like,
well,
oh
now
my
the young folks call it crash out.
Crash
now.
out. They call it crash out. That's their new word. I'm sick of hearing it. I'm like, you mean burnout?
It's a
But
crash
yeah,
out.
that I've been where I was over, and I was like, this, and I want to say just a few years ago, where I'm like, I'm prioritizing me. I'm gonna take those pauses every day, right? I even do like on a Wednesday. Wednesday is like the day because I air my show on Wednesdays. I do it virtually on
Mm-hmm.
Zoom, on YouTube too, right? A podcast. So on those Wednesdays, I don't know meetings, no nothing. I'm not
So that's your
because I work
reset.
too. Like besides the I can do organization. Besides running that, I have a career.
What do
Like
you
right,
do?
accountant.
Really?
I've been doing it since what 1997. So I just started I can do organization in 2020 during the pandemic when it got quiet. God gave me the vision, and hey, it's time to do it, right? So, um, on Wednesdays, I'm like, okay, I'm working. I do, my job or whatever. But I don't add anything else to my plate. Whereas some years ago, I would just like take on
And so you
everything
do
and
that
like
religiously. That's your Wednesday. Do the people in your life know that? Do they know that? Like, oh, this is her Wednesday.
I don't know, but I think they do because don't nobody bother me on Wednesdays.
Okay, so you've kind of
I'm like,
set the
I'm not answering the
tone.
phone. I'm not having conversation. Like, and I'm unapologetic about it. Like, I'm not answering. I'll hit you back later. But people do know, like, oh, her show is, on Wednesday, so she may be preparing for it or whatever. In which I do. I like my quiet time before the show. Like, I do prayer, all of these things before I even go on the show. Kind of go over the questions or whatever. So Wednesday is that day, but like every day, I have a walk. Like I walk for at least an hour, like in my
Good.
community. Just get my friend, and it's at a certain time every day. And if there's a day where I've been so conditioned to it now, if I don't walk, my day is off.
So
But
when
I made that like that's my day. Like I don't care what else is happening on at 10 o'clock. I'm logging off. I'm going outside and I'm doing my walk and I'm listening to my gospel music on my Pandora every day religiously.
coming back from like I had to go to rehab to learn how to walk again, and so
Mm-hmm.
I went. So when they picked when 911 was called and I was picked up from home, I was on a gurney,
Mm.
and then when they transferred me to Kaiser Downey, I was on a gurney. Shout out Kaiser Downey. I know some people have like issues with their health care and stuff, but I can tell you, es- especially with the disparities
Mm-hmm.
with health care for Black Americans
Yeah.
and Black women
Yeah.
and Black women of childbearing
Child,
age,
yeah.
and I can just say the standard of care that I received
Wow.
was top notch, and it
Wow.
really meant a lot to
That's
me
good you're sharing that.
being a healthcare professional. And
Mm-hmm.
I think we all have our own individual circumstances. So like people like, oh no, we don't do Kaiser because, or we don't do Cedars, or we don't do because my granny, because my auntie, not understanding like granny was already on her way out of here and God was calling her home and y'all wanted Kaiser to close the door of heaven for your granny. And it's like that.
Guilty.
You
It's
know
true.
what I'm saying,
I
though,
know.
right?
It's true. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so now it's the hospital's fault. It's
Yeah.
the physician's fault.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can come to a place in your life and like, you know what, honey, she's in a better place. I had her for as long as I needed her. I
Right.
had him for as long
Yeah.
as I needed him.
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
But I had people, like you can't fake bedside manner.
Yeah.
So I had these doctors at my bedside every morning just encouraging me.
Wow.
And I'm talking nurse lingo with them, like, what's my labs? What was this? What was that?
Right.
And
right.
just being able to converse with them and being a part of my care plan. And so I came home very weak, very, very, very weak, and on dialysis. And my doctor said, look, you have a temporary injury of your kidneys due to your infection.
Wow.
You do not have chronic kidney disease.
Okay.
Prior to me coming home, when I was in the hospital, the first time that I urinated, I was feeling like something in my bladder.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the nurse check me, and when I started peeing, I was like, praise God. Like, my body is healing
It's
itself.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
functioning.
Yeah.
And came home and the doctor was just like, hey, I'll give you like 6 months. You're going to be off. I was off in like 5 sessions. I was off. I was done. And I was a compliant patient.
Ooh.
I did what they told me to do.
Yeah, yeah.
They said, drink your water, mind your business, don't get sick because you can't be on any antibiotics. They said no MRIs with contrast because that could affect your kidneys. And just do right. I went Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday, Wednesday, saw my doctor. Done.
Wow.
So it's hope. You know,
yeah.
It's hope for a variety
ultimately
of
it's
ailments.
up to you. Yeah.
For a variety of ailments.
It is.
First, you got to, whatever they tell you to put down, just put down.
Put it down.
Put
If
down
you
the
want to
stress.
live, I always tell people that you want to live.
You have to.
Yeah.
And so I got home in July. I got home, late June. And then just trying to get myself back to center. I was still very weak, dealing with some other stuff. And I'm like, okay, last Monday of August, I started walking. Just started walking in the community, walking. Great for this.
Yeah.
As much as it is
I'm
for
telling
your heart
you,
and everything else.
I'm telling you.
So I'm walking and I'm loving it. And I just started loving it. I walk so much, I walked plantar fasciitis into my foot. Like I walked 150 miles last year just from August to the end of the year. And I just love it. I fell in love with it. And we just have to find spaces for us to really decompress every day, to really have that quiet time, phone not ringing. I love my phone on Do Not Disturb. It's not being rude. It's just protecting my peace. I'm in the middle of a thought. I'm in the middle of $1 million moment.
Yeah.
And my phone ringing, I lose it.
Oh. Yes. That's first of all, that's a testimony.
It's
you
an
got
absolute
a
testimony.
full-blown testimony, Miss Pucker Up.
Yeah, and I thank you for the opportunity of having me here just to share with people because, at that time I wasn't connected to social media. My family had took my phone, so I really couldn't really share
the journey.
So as soon as I got the phone back, I'm on my stories like, look at me, y'all.
Oh my gosh.
And so, God is really good to me. And it just really, I think sometimes we just got to get shaken up a little bit. We kind of have to get thrown off so we can kind of find our way back.
Oh yeah. I'm a witness to it. I know you. Yeah. Sometimes God has to sit you, whether it's for hours, sit you down, and you're gonna listen to me. You know, what I mean? Okay, now let's proceed.
Yeah. Now that I got your attention.
Now that I got your attention. Oh yeah, I'm a firm believer in it.
Right.
Yeah, but I thank you. First of all, I thank you for what you are doing for the community, because I think it's, like I said, it's beautiful to have Pucker Up Lemonade in the city of Compton. Like, that was why I went to Pucker. I'm like, oh, we got something in the city, because on Compton Boulevard, it's nothing there anymore. Like, one of my parents, they bought the house in 1971. So I've been looking at Compton Boulevard since 1971.
And it looks very
seeing
different.
the businesses, so I know the whole transition. The Compton Shopping Center on Alameda was not there.
No, it wasn't.
When
we
were
used to
there.
be like some streets they used to run through there.
There
remember?
were some, yes.
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, so we watched them building that shopping center.
Then
on
remember we
Compton
used to have the
Boulevard.
Auto Square?
The Auto Square, yeah. So just to have something so beautiful, like it stands out, So I thank you for just, putting that in the community, being willing to take a chance on the city of Compton, and here again, in turn, the city of Compton.
For me, it's like, why not Compton?
Why not?
Because
and they showing you love. You know what I mean?
Why not Compton? You know, and then, to be honest with you, like once upon a time, I used to be so ashamed of that, because everything that came with Compton, Compton was negative. Just known. But it's just like now I can represent for us. I can put a face to the excellence that comes out of Compton. And I was talking to a friend last week, and she was saying that one of her corporate friends referred to her as, "Oh, that's the girl from Compton." And she didn't have a comeback. She didn't have a comeback. So I was like, "Oh, Kevin Costner." George
you
Bush
better learn the Bush
Junior and Senior, like you better know.
You better know it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh no, I've been and that's one thing about me. Like and that was when I found out you were actually from Compton. I'm like, okay, good. I definitely, want to highlight her. I know I did an interview on I was a guest on a show, and so that was the whole topic of that interview was showing that other side of Compton. Like there is some good that come out
Right.
of. So that was the first interview that I had ever done,
Wow.
and I made sure I represented for
Yes.
the city
Well,
and shared, my family, everything. So I it's an honor to have you on here because I was like I'm Compton to the heart, right?
did you go to Compton
The
High?
only reason I don't live in Compton is because my husband didn't want to live in Compton.
Did you
Okay,
go to
but
Compton High?
no, but our cousins went there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we are neighbors and stuff. We went to private school.
Right, right, right.
So, but yeah, but that's like my like I love the city, like that's my heart, and so we do get that, like when I go to other states and stuff, they're like, oh, have you ever seen anybody get shot? When I tell you I can't stand when somebody asks me that question, I cannot tell you. And it's like, no, like I've never seen
Do you
that.
know how
Like
many
I said,
cities
do
are
you know
worse than
everybody on our
Compton?
block? We grew up middle class families. Both my parents worked. My dad worked and was an entrepreneur. We come from a
Exactly.
family of entrepreneurs, but they also worked jobs
Right.
too. Right. So I'm like, I don't know where you got this from, but that's not all Compton is. So again, I want to thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming on this show. It was a pleasure talking to you, and because I did not know that testimony, and I'm glad you shared that
Thank you.
testimony because I know somebody's gonna, when this airs, they're gonna be empowered by that. So thank you again for coming on the show. And I want to thank you to all of our viewers for tuning in. And before we go, can you give them your website
Yes.
and the local. Some people, like you said, want to come in and pick their lemonade, and the address of the physical location of
Yes.
Pucker Up Lemonade in the city of Compton.
Yes, please come visit us at Pucker Up Lemonade Company, located at 723 East Compton Boulevard in the city of Compton. We're right located near the intersection of Santa Fe and Compton Boulevard. You can find us at Pucker Up Lemonade Co. on all of our social media channels and at puckeruplemonadecompany.com.
All right, you all heard it. The queen of Pucker Up is here. You got the website. Go visit the location. I can tell you firsthand that I am hooked on Pucker Up Lemonade. All right, so make sure to support this queen. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. The button should be like right there in front of you. So just go ahead and just tap that button and hit subscribe to our YouTube channel at I Can Do Biz, because that's where the Women Can Do show airs. So subscribe so you get notifications when all of our shows air every Wednesday at 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I am your host, Rochelle. Thank you again for tuning in. Have a great evening. And scene.
Thank you. I
Thank
brought
you.
you